What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Bougie Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Yvette, and as always, I am so happy that you are here. I'm so excited about today's podcast. I don't know if it's just because I had a week off last week when we did the Eras Tour, which was a lot of fun. If you didn't see that, you can catch that on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, you guys, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be so awesome. It really helps. And yeah, anyways, big show today. I cannot believe it. We are in June already, which means fantasy football is right around the corner. Yes, it is. And today, big news for the people that know about the Scott Fish Bowl. Some of the scoring came out today. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later because I have some of my league mates from the Scott Fish Bowl Live, Cleveland. Like, how awesome is that? They're joining me later, and we didn't plan to know that the scoring might come out today. It just happened to happen. So I feel like that's a sign for a good fantasy football season for me. You know, I'm going to take it. Also, we have our golf outing coming up on August 16th at Coppertop Golf Course, I guess, or Coppertop, whatever. It's just going to be fun, and you should come. If you need the details, get hold of Lana. I will post something on here, and you can find it on any of my social media pages, any of the social media pages. Been trying to hit it hard, you guys. See some comments out there, you guys. Thank you so much. I don't know if it's my lighting is better or what. Also, I want to really quickly say that I have Lysandra helping me today in the back. So she's going to help us go through the slideshows. So it might not be a huge disaster like they've been in the past. So yeah, for that. Let's just go ahead and get started. Today I have a plethora of guests, starting with Zach. Everybody knows Zach, okay? One of the kindest people that I haven't met personally yet, but first time. There he is. I feel like I was talking about you. Zach, I am so happy that you're here. And I forgot to mention, most importantly, author, right?
I mean, author does feel like a strong term. Thanks for having me. When you do a cocktail book, a recipe book, author might be strong, but yes, I did get a book published, so that has been exciting.
Yeah, I think I seen your picture in the back with like a little biography or whatever. That's an author. I mean, hello. Yeah. I got the book on Amazon, so I pretty much think that's an author. So yes, you can find that book on Amazon, and it's called the Cocktail Playbook again. How cool of a concept. I mean, what really made you think of putting alcohol and football together? I mean, two crazy things that just don't typically go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, never gone together before. Honestly, I've been posting a lot more cocktail drinks over the past year or so. I was just making myself some drinks, posting them. People seem to like them, talk about them. And then one day, Jem Piacenti over at SI, she mentioned why don't you make a cocktail book about football teams and comp them to a drink? And I was like, all right, cool. I'm never gonna do that. And then the idea just never left me. I thought about it some more, and I looked into it. I could not find another book that existed out there. There was a couple of websites that had some lazy drinks put together for a few teams, and it didn't seem like it existed. So I reached out to some friends, hey, would you guys be interested in something like this if I made it? Everybody said yes. So I was like, all right, worst thing that can happen is nobody wants it. At least I can say I did it. So I decided to put the book together and get it published. So it's been really exciting.
That is exciting. So Zach, you're in Orlando, correct?
Yes.
Yes. We had something in common, but we won't have to go about the Disney College program. This is the way we take it to the house. If you know, you know. But we've talked about that before. Another thing we have in common is our love for fantasy football. We're both proactive on mental health. You can see Zach always posting positive things. Let's talk about our mental health and go to the Browns. So when you think about the Browns, what cocktail comes to mind for us Browns fans?
That's a loaded question. I guess it would depend on, I guess what part of the team are you thinking about? If you're talking about the defense, I mean, it's a good defense, so maybe a strong, like nice, good, strong old fashioned. Get the brown color mixed in there. If you're talking about maybe a certain quarterback, uh, I don't know what cocktail you would want to do for him, but hopefully they have a good season. I'm not a Browns fan. I'm sorry. But I do like some of the players on the team, and if they're on my fantasy team, I will be supporting them. That's how I roll with fantasy. But yeah, I would think a good
Guys,
old
that's
good strong
enough
old
with
fashioned.
Zach now. We'll be done with him after he made that comment about the Browns.
So
No, I'm just
I'm wearing
joking.
my Cowboy shirt.
We'll let everybody stay. We'll let that slide. But yes, I like a Miles Garrett drink. I think that's awesome. I mean, you could also make a Pittsburgh Steelers drink, like, for TJ Watt, like nothing he's not used to, and like make tears, like the tears of something. That would
TJ
be
Watt tears.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I
you
mean, I
could
did
call
make a.
it the nothing I'm not used to.
There you go. I did make a cocktail for you since you did request a cocktail for tonight.
I did. Can you show us?
Yep. So this is a strawberry basil tequila. So you requested Casamigos as being the base. So I'd use the Casamigos, the tequila
Absolutely.
blanco, and then since I'm on Bougie Sports, I had to make it pink. You did say on Wednesdays we wear pink. I'm sorry, I did not wear pink for it, but I did get you a pink drink. So it is strawberry puree, freshly made with some basil, tequila, lime juice. Really easy to make. You salt the rim, and there you go. So nice and easy, refreshing.
And you can find that recipe where again?
Well, that recipe is on the book. I don't put any of the recipes I put online. I have not put in the book yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the book is exclusive, if you will, because I don't want to. If I give away all the recipes, and what's the point of buying the book? But yeah,
Yeah.
no, this is just for you. This is a Bougie Sports
Really?
exclusive cocktail. But yeah, no, the book, I do have one here. So this is a
There you go.
hardcover.
Yeah.
Also comes in paperback, and if you have ebook, you can get it for free if you are part of the what is it? Their ebook unlimited program. It's actually free. So easy way to get the book that way if you don't want a hard copy. But I decided to just go through and I'll show you like a page. I'll give you to the Browns. Let's go to the Browns. That's fair since we are on a Cleveland show. So every team gets their own drink. I know the Browns doesn't look as exciting, but I promise it's delicious. So it's the Brownies cocktail is the name of the drink.
Okay.
So it's a cream based. Can't go wrong with coffee, liqueur, and whiskey in there. So that is fresh. But each team gets their own drink themed after them. I put a lot of research into like the cities, what's popular for that town. Like for example, Chicago. Didn't know that the old fashioned came from Chicago, so had to do an old fashioned drink for the Bears. But I put a little twist on it to make it more Bears themed. So you can check that out as well. But yeah, every drink is themed to their team for a particular reason. I explain that in the book. And then I also kind of explain what each liquor is, the different tools you could use for making a drink. So like with this drink, I used a cocktail shaker. I used a jigger to measure. And then that was really all it took for this one. Some are a little more complex. So really easy to make good cocktails at home. You see the proper ingredients. And like I said, it's not that hard. Nothing to be intimidated about.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to try some of those cocktails, and as I do, I'll post them.
Absolutely.
But whiskey and what else? A cream base. That's the Browns. And
Yep.
I'm on to the espresso martinis right now. I'm on the kick of the espresso martinis.
So
I'm like,
that'll be like a whiskey, kind of similar to a martini, but a little different, a little stronger.
yeah.
But yeah, same vibes.
Awesome. So real quick, Zach, like, what's your favorite thing to drink?
Depends on my mood, honestly. You can't go wrong with a good old fashioned. And I like to kind of add a little variety to it. Maybe add a little like cranberry to it, or you can even do like a little mezcal. Make it a little fun with the Hawaka old fashioned. But that's probably my go-to. But otherwise, I really just like trying new drinks, new combinations, just seeing what I like. Honestly, as long as it's a quality liquor, it's really hard to mess it up. So just don't over pour. I think there's that misconception of like when you're drinking cocktails, you just are trying to get wasted. Honestly, the stronger the drink, it's probably not that good to actually drink. So it's just finding that right balance of getting the liquor in there.
Then the stronger the drink, the better the game.
Well, you can get shit faced if you wanted the games. That's absolutely fine. But if you're trying to enjoy a quality cocktail, like if you're going to a nice restaurant, you're not trying to just like drink a straight shot, unless that's what you're ordering. But if you're looking for a cocktail, you want a nice balance. So you want to taste the liquor, but you want to be enhanced by the mix in there. Maybe there's some fruit, some aromatics. There's a lot of ways to have fun with a cocktail without like having to get wasted. I think everyone thinks I'm like always drunk with how much I post. The drinks are really not that strong, and I'm not drinking that many at one time. So don't worry.
Well, drinking cocktails is, again, nothing we're not used to. Listen, anytime I can say nothing I'm not used to, because that's me taking a dig at the Steelers and to do what? I'm going to throw that in. That's going to be my throw it in line of the podcast. So that was awesome. You're going to stay with us, right? We have a lot more to talk about. I have, like I said, I have a lot of guests on today. We have so much news. I don't know. I guess we don't have that much. Yes, we do. Is it too early to talk about football? It's not.
Never.
No, it's not. Anyways, another person I want to bring on, our next guest. Speaking of Steelers fans, and see, this is proof that I do not discriminate on this show, because he is a Steelers fan, and he hails from Canada. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. That would be Jack. Should we blame Canada for you being a Steelers fan, Jack? Or
yeah, you probably should, honestly, because in Ontario there is like a huge contingent of Steelers fans. So I'm sorry that you can't get away from us, even in Canada. But I appreciate being on the show. It's been such a long time, Yvette, since I had you on the Worst Sports Channel. Back then, I was the fantasy Joker, so it's nice that you had Chalupa Batman, and now you've brought the Joker on. I'm in the Joker division this year for Scott Fishbowl, so there's a lot of tie-ins there.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so funny. I didn't even think about that. Yes, the Scott Fishbowl, the theme this year is movies. I also see a lot of our friends in the comments. What's up, everyone? I'm so excited that you're here. And I'm in the major league. I'm in the major league because that's the Cleveland Live Drafters. And speaking of, why don't we go quickly and bring them on really fast? Cleveland Live Draft last year, you guys, I was in the slow draft, and it was, like I said, it was difficult for me. So I'm excited to do the live draft this year. And I think we have a few of our people that we're going to bring them on here quickly. What's up? Hey, guys.
Hey.
What's up, guys?
Hi, everybody.
Hi. I'm so excited to have you guys on. And what a day, on the day that some of the scoring came out, right? Maybe a little bit. You know?
Just a little, yeah.
Yes. To the Scott Fishbowl guys, is this your first Scott Fishbowl draft? We'll start with you up in the top. Sorry, I can't see you. Yes. Is this your first draft?
For me, no. This is my second one now.
Yeah.
One day, maybe when they come up to Canada, we'll be able to do a live draft from Montreal, and I'll be the one hosting. But until then, no, I'm drafting online. Last year I did it for the first time, and I made it through to, I think, I think it was the semifinals. I got eliminated, if I remember right. But we had a lot of great hits last year with like Puka Nacua and Devon Achane and Trey McBride. So I'm hoping to repeat this year and maybe go a little bit further.
Yeah. I mean, I did really bad. So anything will be better for me. What about you, Chris? Was this your
this is my first time in the Scott Fishbowl. I've been rocking fantasy football since 1998. Peyton Manning was my first choice way back when I was in high school. So I'm really excited to try the alternate scoring, and it's really cool to be at a live draft down in Cleveland and meet you guys and have some fun doing some fantasy football.
Yeah, how awesome. That's so exciting. Me as my second time, like, I'm oh my God, you're super first time, you know? But that is so exciting. And you chose to do a live draft too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, live drafts are so much better. I've done a couple slow drafts, over through best ball leagues and that over the years. And it doesn't compare with being in the room with people. It's just so much better.
Yeah. Sam, what's that? Is this your first draft, Scott Fishbowl? I don't think your sound's on. Am I the only one not hearing him?
No.
No, I can't hear you, bud.
It's okay. He'll fix it. We'll move on
No,
to
it
you.
is. It's Sauron is trying to block the airwaves so that Samwise can't talk.
That's okay. I wanted to call you Fantasy Football Akron because that's what I'm seeing. What's up? What about, is this your first draft, Scott Fishbowl draft?
Hey guys, yeah, my name's Jeff, FF Akron, Jeff
Yeah.
Baloney. No, this is my second draft for Scott Fishbowl, and last year was a lot of fun. It was eye-opening, and there's a lot of sharks in the draft, so it's there's a ton of mock drafts out there to get ready for it, which is really cool. And it was quite the experience, and I'm really excited this year to get into it for my second time and a live draft in Cleveland. So the day they launched that Cleveland was going to get a live draft, it was like Christmas. I was like, no way. Our backyard, we get to go. So I'm pumped.
No, that's all. And Zach, how many, what's this for you?
This is number 5. Yeah, so
5.
it's got Fishbowl 10. So yeah, I'll be hosting Orlando Live for the 3rd year this year, but I'm actually coming up the day before for Cincinnati Live to hang out.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
you guys aren't too far, so you guys are always welcome to come by.
What day is that one?
July 6th.
Oh, okay, that's what I think. And ours is the 29th, right?
June 29th, yeah.
June 29th at the Barley House. If anyone's watching from Cleveland, you can actually come and watch, right? Everybody drafts, which is awesome. Are you anybody in the Ricky Vaughn division?
I am.
Yes. Yes, me too. Zach, what's the name of your division?
So I'm not drafting online since I'm hosting. I've drafted online, I've drafted live multiple times while hosting, and it's a lot of work with craziness of just trying to make sure everyone's having a good time, making sure we're raising money for fantasy cares while also making my picks. So I'm online this year. I'm in the Maverick division.
Okay, top 10.
Absolutely.
The need for speed.
Yep. My shirt will be here tomorrow, so can't wait.
I know, I can't wait to get this stuff. So really quick, what did you guys hear about the scoring? I know it's not a sure thing, right? It's just I think he said something that he might pivot on some of it, but it's still tight end premium kind of.
Yeah, he's definitely still working through the numbers. But they released that they were going to do a PPR, a half-point PPR for receivers and running backs, but it's going to be 1.5 points for tight ends, and the same for first down. So half point for receivers and running backs for first downs. So tight ends are going to be 1.5 points. So it's still a tight end premium league. It's just pared down a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you guys, I've got a little slideshow that we're going to go through. Just a couple topics that I was thinking about that I wanted to talk about and get your opinions on. That's an old lake. That's the Bougie School of Fantasy Sports. You guys are all enrolled. All right. So, I think the first thing I wanted to do is, big Justin Jefferson deal. I guess we'll start with Jack. We'll just go down the line. Is this justified? Do you think he deserved the money? And what do you think about that?
I mean, he absolutely deserved the money. He's, to me, the best wide receiver in football. I also saw this coming. I remember it's one of those things of like, you're constantly arguing with people on Twitter, and people are starting they're bored this time of year. It's the summer, right? So they're, Justin Jefferson's going to go somewhere else. No, he is not. The Vikings would be crazy to let him go. They were obviously going to re-sign him, especially with a rookie quarterback contract now on the books. So they give him the bag, and they give him the bag before some of these other premier wide receivers have had a chance to sign. So in a sense, when you set the market in this day and age in the NFL, you're actually underpaying because whatever you set the market at, the next guy is probably going to sign that little bit more, and they just keep pushing it further and further along. Yeah. And for fantasy, it's great because obviously he's locked into the team, and now he's locked in with McCarthy for the next couple of years. So I think McCarthy, there is definitely some risk in terms of fantasy because he's a rookie quarterback, but the fact that he's going to get to go with him, I like the dynasty aspect more than redraft this year.
Right. And that brings me, like, Chris, that's let's just say with a rookie quarterback. And I know that he's coming off an injury. Do you see his production being any better this year because
I don't know in the short term if I could say his production this year will be better. Kirk Cousins isn't great, but taking a drop from him to J.J. McCarthy is definitely going to happen. He deserves every penny of everything he got. He's the face of this franchise, and financially it makes a lot of sense. It probably makes more sense for them, and it's bad for the Bengals, especially because now they got to figure out a way to pay Jamar Chase about the same amount of money. It makes more sense, I think, in real football, than it does for fantasy football this year. But he's an elite talent. You can't go wrong with him. The numbers might take a bit of a dip, but he's still going to get his chips.
All right. I'm gonna go to the next slide and have you guys get the beginning of the next conversation. And that is on the opposite end, with a running back that got a contract. I think it was 2 years? I don't remember it for sure. What do you think about this deal with CMC? It wasn't for as much money, I know that, but or is he still like number one there for you?
Ooh, for me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course, he's CMC the machine. I mean, every time he gets up after he's tackled, he's like a cyborg. He's just like, so he's due this money. I mean, he's going to probably be number one overall again this year for redraft leagues. And 28 years old, and he's still catching everything that goes his way and can take it to the house. He's a 2,000 yard a year player. And I mean, he set the foundation. I mean, Bijan's talking about being the next CMC, and they're going to use him like him. So he really has changed the position for who he is. And to get that contract again, he deserves every penny of it. And he rewards us, the fantasy managers, and I mean himself. So he deserves it. He can come to the Browns for his last 2 years. Him and Nick Chubb together.
Yeah, I think actually the last Browns running back coach Stubb, I think he said that he loved CMC and that he thought he was the best running back that was out there. And this is having Nick Chubb. So Zach, are you double down on the money for? I mean, obviously that, but is he still like the number one pick, you think, in redraft leagues? And
I mean, redraft easily the 101. I'm more concerned from the money standpoint of how is San Francisco going to afford all these guys. I mean, eventually they got to pay Brock Purdy or find another rookie QB. It looks like they don't want to pay Brandon Ayuk. Debo might be gone soon, so I'm curious to see how they keep the team together over the next 2 years. But I mean, CMC is the best. Dynasty wise, it definitely makes it more interesting because I think we all thought Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson were the easy top two running backs, and I think they still are, just based on their age and their talent. But you can't blame anyone for having CMC now as a third or even in that top three. He's going to play, barring any kind of serious injury. We can't predict that. He's got to play at least 2 or 3 more years, and you're expecting at least maybe a year or two of top level. So, yeah, I mean, he's 101 in redraft, and I wouldn't blame anybody for taking him high in Dynasty. Not how I build my Dynasty roster, but can't blame anybody.
Yeah. I mean, could there be any hesitation, like maybe because he is injury prone and, he's still young, but at some point, I think he's great, obviously, but I'm just trying to see the other end of it.
I will cut in quick and just say that, Jeff from Akron kind of mentioned it, but I actually think even in redraft, this is Bijan's year. I think Bijan will surpass CMC, even if they're both healthy and they both play a full season. And granted, you got Shanahanigans, but it's not even just Bijan. I think Bijan last year, I kind of was fading him, and I generally fade rookies because they get really high ADPs, and to justify that, they have to have generational rookie seasons. They need to break all kinds of crazy records, and that usually doesn't happen. But in their second year, the sophomore breakout for running backs especially, and when you talk about the Rams coaching staff that came over, that's what really has me intrigued, is they basically brought 3/4 of not Sean McVay, but everybody else. They took all that whole coaching staff that just had Kyron Williams basically as a star running back, and you're going to give that to Bijan Robinson with an upgraded quarterback. I'm going to bet on him, I think, even in redraft as my 101 running back this year.
Yep. Bijan? That's
Bijan.
Yeah. I mean, that's not, yeah. I mean, they're both there. Speaking of someone else, we're going to go to our next slide, a rookie. I think that, like Marvin Harrison Jr., here we go. I think he is rising in ADP right now. He just keeps getting shinier and shinier to me. Every time I look at him, I'm like, woo, shining bright like a diamond. Like, I want to take him early. I don't know. There's something about, I feel like if I don't have him, I'm going to end up with FOMO. We'll start with you, Zach. We'll let you take this one first. Marvin Harrison, where are you at with him?
So based on his ADP, I'm out this year in redraft. He's going, I think, like end of the first round right now. That's a record for like the highest ADP for a rookie wide receiver since Cooper, I think, was in the low 20s back when he was a rookie. So I think he's gonna be great. I'm excited for him to be in the NFL. Excited for him in Dynasty. I mean, I don't think you can pick him too high in Dynasty. By all means, get your wide receiver early. But yeah, in a redraft, I doubt I will have much Marvin Harrison Jr. on my rosters just because he's going too soon for me.
Yeah, but you could have said that last year about like someone like Puka Nacua. And then, but
Puka Nacua wasn't going too early. He was undrafted.
Yep.
Yeah, true, I guess. But I'm just saying, like, he can end up with that type of numbers. This is what I'm totally thinking. Jeff, what do you think? Are you know
I
Ohio
love that
State
toss
fan?
for Puka Nacua.
Yeah. No, I'm right there. I've even done I've done quite a few best ball drafts on Underdog already. And it's crazy to see him go end of first round, right at the start. And I'm right there with Zach. I don't know if redraft comes around. That's so early to bank on a rookie. I know Kyler's going to feed him, but Trey McBride's there with him also, who's got to eat. So we'll see how it plays out. But I mean, I love Ohio State, and you get to see him stand out going with Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, even Jamison Williams for a little bit. So he was the stud on top of all of them. So, I mean, he could be the chosen one. Who knows? But it's wild to see, especially the pedigree of receivers we have right now with JJ Chase, Garrett Wilson, Harrison. So it'll be fun for sure to see what he can do.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris? Do you think Kyler Murray can take Marvin Harrison in the first round? Because obviously Zach and Jeff are not taking him in the first round, so I am not worried about that. Well, Zach's not in my Flatfish Bowl, and Jeff is in my league. So let me make a note right now.
Oh no!
Note to self.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
okay.
think I'll be having much Marvin Harrison as of right now, at least on my rosters either. His price is a bit pricey for me, but I think this is a real good point to talk about, like draft strategy too, and having your draft later in the summer, closer to the start of the season, helps because some of the ADP is so baked into hype right now that guys like this will start to naturally fall back down the board. And if you start looking at him and say maybe an end of the second round, early third round pick, the value's probably there given the receivers he'd be going up against at that point. He does have generational talent. That's unquestionable. His route running is crisp. His hands are strong. He's got the pedigree with his dad and all that. I don't know if he's going to be able to put it all together to start the season, but definitely somewhere down the line, I think you see a breakout from him later on this year. I just can't see justifying putting a first round pick on him.
Yeah. Jack, do you think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s prices are too high? You need to cut him. You guys remember that song? Your price is way too high. You need to cut him.
This
Somebody
is the
does.
one I really struggle with the most because it goes against like so much of what I believe in about fantasy football. And I'm such a rookie hater. Like Malik Neighbors for me, just as a counterpoint, is so easy to be like, no, there's no way because the quarterback's not there. The situation is not there. But with Marvin Harrison, and you kind of mentioned it, you talked about it with Puka. Puka's a perfect example actually of the ADP was not baked into that price. So he enormously surpassed the value of what you actually drafted him at. Whereas with Marvin Harrison, you're drafting him where he has to hit Puka's numbers or it's a bust. That's kind of not even that it's a bust, but like if he hits a flat 1,000 with 6 touchdowns, it's not going to feel good as your first round pick. So in your mind, it almost even still feels like a bust, even though it technically wasn't. But he's the guy that I feel like it is going to be the generational rookies. Like who else? Name the other wide receiver that I know Trey McBride, but tight ends don't. People kind of overblow this idea of tight ends and offenses. If a quarterback throws 500 times the tight end's only going to see maybe 125 of that to 150 at the most, and that's like Travis Kelce level. Yeah, Trey McBride's at that level, but then show me the other wide receiver that's at that level in the Cardinals room right now. Michael Wilson? Like, no. It's Marvin Harrison and nobody else pretty much. So I feel like he's going to see 150 to 175 targets. As long as Kyler stays healthy, I feel like is the big thing. I think Harrison is going to hit, like, he could literally put up Randy Moss rookie season numbers. I think that's a feasible possibility given the offense and given the quarterback and given the situation.
Yes.
So I would take the shot in the first round. If you believe everything I just said, it's still hard for me because it just goes against so much of what I actually believe, but I've kind of forced myself to do it a couple times in best ball just in case.
Yeah. No, I am like loving what everybody has to say. It's really fun. And I really love the point that, like, I think that you said, Chris, is that we're talking right now, we're like pre-fantasy football talking. So we all get a little grace because we're going to change probably because things are going to happen. We're going to have injuries in the preseason. We're going to have a lot of things that are going to change a lot of the things that we're saying. As more, beat reports come out and we see things are going to change. But one thing I don't think is going to change is how much I'm going to love Marvin Harrison, the MHJ. And I feel like for me, before I move to the next slide, I'd rather be on the right side of history because if I don't take him, I'm going to be like, I told you guys he's going to hit. But, remember Zach and Jeff and everyone were like so down on him. So anyways, let's talk about Zach Moss, running back for the well, you guys know, for the Cincinnati Bengals now. Right? Yes. What do you think about him? And do you think he's going to produce Joe Mixon type of numbers? Chris, we'll start with you.
So I'm very nervous about the Bengals offense, if I'm being honest with you this year. There's a lot of discontent in that wide receiver room. Joe Burrow I don't know if he's injury prone yet, if we can label him that, but he struggles to finish seasons. You're taking a significant talent drop from Joe Mixon to Zach Moss. Zach Moss is a very good NFL running back, but I don't know. I don't see me drafting Zach Moss at all this year. I think there's other guys at that level who have higher upside than Zach Moss does. So I think I'm out.
Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends where he's going to fall in the draft because I think people are still kind of feeling out Zach Moss and they're still kind of, I don't know, Chase Brown's a thing. So you don't know if he's going to be the PPR back to have. But I know last year going against Mixon with leagues, and it seems like Chase or Higgins would always get tackled at like the 3-yard line, and then Mixon would just come punch it in. So Moss showed last year he could do it, taking over for Taylor, which was pretty cool to see him revive his career a little bit from Buffalo. So, I mean, I don't think I'm out. I just think he has to fall to the right round for me, and then I would definitely take him, especially if I'm fading running back a little bit. So he's a pretty good target if you're going to fade running back. So,
yeah. Zach, let me ask you about the Bengals offense. There is, the wide receiver room they're a little shaky. Who are you targeting, if anyone, in the Bengals offense? Zach?
I mean, you can't go wrong with Jamar Chase. He's still a top 3 wide receiver. Now, obviously, if Burrow gets hurt, we see that doesn't go well for Chase. Understandable, but I think he's still worth his value in the first round. I am not interested in T. Higgins. Unfortunately, he's good. He's great. He's not happy. I don't know if he's still going to be on the Bengals or not. If he is, I mean, we've seen him try to play through injuries. Every time he ends up being questionable, he plays and then doesn't even make it through the first quarter. So you're screwed if you start him in fantasy. So I mean, if he's upset with his contract, I could see him, just resting a few weeks, making sure he's really, really extra healthy. So I'm out on T. Higgins. Zach Moss, we talked about him. I actually do like him at his ADP cost. He, like Jeff said, I mean, he's so cheap as a starting running back. I mean, I'll take any starting running back that late in my draft. Why not? He could be your RB3, RB4 in your roster, maybe even your RB2, depending on how heavy you went with wide receiver. Could be tight end. So, yeah, and the rookie, Burton, he's kind of a sneaky stash at the end. of your draft, or even just keep an eye on him for your waiver pickups, depending on how your your league is. With Tyler Boyd gone, he's got a lot of skill. He had some off the field issues, a lot of off the field issues, which is why he dropped into the third round of the NFL draft. But he's very talented, and he really could have been a first round wide receiver if it wasn't for his indiscretions off the field.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So I want to get through these, and we'll start with you, Jack, on this guy, which I think a lot of us probably love. Some people, think because we only had a small sample size that he's not going to be that great. But where are you at, Jack, with Anthony Richardson?
This is a hard fade for me, and it's for a couple of reasons. The first reason is just the ADP. I can't get my head around the ADP because there's just so many quarterbacks that are being pushed down the board almost nonsensically to me. Like one of them is Tua. I feel like Tua is tagged as, kind of injury prone. And meanwhile, he's got like this crazy offense. They just added a bunch of weapons to it. I would much rather have Tua on my team than Anthony Richardson, who basically has Michael Pittman, Adonai Mitchell, Alec Pierce, and JT. Like we're not talking about the same thing here. I like Shane Steichen and everything, but the biggest thing for me is when I think of a guy that's actually injury prone, Anthony Richardson is immediately the first person that comes to mind because it's the play style. And that's going to be my biggest thing that I need to see before I draft him ever again in fantasy, because I was kind of in on the idea of it last year. And then when I actually saw him play, I was like, oh, I'm so out on this. And you cannot at any size, at any speed, I don't care who you are, just run face first into NFL linebackers and expect to last an entire NFL season. And that's basically how he plays. This man needs to get outside and he needs to slide. If I see that really like a huge change in his game to where he's not just trying to overpower guys all the time. And there's times where it calls for it, like around the goal line and stuff. But in the middle of the field at the 50-yard line, running face first into the Jaguars linebackers, like it doesn't make any sense. So there's so much about his game that needs to change. And yes, there's potential there, but it's like even at maximum potential, you're drafting him based on the potential of the running ability. And Kyler Murray, you can get him at a cheaper price who has the same running ability. It doesn't make any sense to me to pay up for Anthony Richardson when there's better options later that are less risky in my mind. And it's like they have the same chance of getting hurt, you could say. If you're going to say that, well, Kyler Murray could get hurt, Tua could get hurt, well, Anthony Richardson could definitely get hurt.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm going to move, Chris, I'm going to talk about somebody else that I have on the slides. I don't know. He's coming up a little bit later. And Jaden Daniels, because he has a lot of the same quarterback style that he was talking about. Do you see that with any comparison with Anthony Richardson and Jaden Daniels?
You know what? Actually, I do. They're very similar players in my mind. And I think Jaden Daniels has all the talent in the world. I don't know if he's disciplined enough yet as a quarterback to sustain what he's going to have to go through in an NFL season. I kind of like him better than Caleb Williams, if I'm being honest, as an actual NFL quarterback. But for fantasy football, I'm not going to go anywhere near Anthony Richardson or Jaden this year at all. There's just the risk reward is just it's not worth it for me.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is Amari Cooper, and then we'll start with Jeff because this is one of those guys that a lot of people are low on. I think so for sure. With my Browns colored glasses. What do you think about Amari Cooper? I know we added Jerry Jeudy, but does that take away from any of the targets you think he's going to get?
No, I love Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper and Zach Moss, who we talked about earlier, are basically the exact reason that I'm kind of, when the fantasy community zigs, you're supposed to zag. And when people are drafting wide receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks and onesies and everything else early and they're fading running backs, I've been doing the complete opposite. I've been loading up. A lot of my teams have been really high T, which is just running back. And then I'll just draft wide receivers that have fallen down the board that people, again, to me, nonsensically are driving down the board. Amari Cooper being one of them. If anything, Amari Cooper could benefit from the idea that Deshaun Watson makes it through an entire season. And even if he doesn't, to me, the backup now, which is Jameis Winston, is an upgrade, even over Joe Flacco in a sense, because as much as I love Flacco, Winston's just going to super chuck it down the field. And for fantasy, like Amari Cooper could be a beast in that version of a Browns offense. So I love Amari Cooper at his ADP, and getting him as a wide receiver 2 or even a wide receiver 3-4, if you did go early wide receiver, that's insane to me.
All right, let's move on to the next person, because I'm trying to fly through them. And Jeff, this one's going to be for you. Which this is going to be a fun one because this might be, to me, Josh Allen's only guy. What do you think about Dalton Kincaid? There's a tight end right there, Scott Fishbowl. That's going to be a ding, 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 right type of player. What are your thoughts on him?
You just had to give me my number one player this year. Yeah, I don't want to give any smoke screens. I know we're in the same draft, but I got to admit, I love Dalton Kincaid this year. I mean, how do you not? He's a beast. He's going to be a target machine. He might set the record for most targets to a tight end this year. I don't know. I mean, Allen and him had a connection last year for him as a rookie. And I think it's all upside from here. I mean, the receiving core, I don't know. Keon Coleman, we'll see what happens. I think he's going to work his way in, but James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, I think we're going to see a lot. And yes, I will be looking into acquiring him. So.
Yeah. Zach, how high are you on DK?
So I mean, I'm not in on Dalton Kincaid. I'm so sorry. I think he's talented. He's going to get plenty of targets. I get all that. I'm actually concerned about the Buffalo Bills offense this year. Yeah. I mean, I could see them not making the playoffs. I don't know if that's a spicy take or not, but I feel like he's going to get overdrafted. I mean, is he? I mean, I know I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm not trying to be a homer, but is it any different than Ferguson probably being the number 2 on that team, that passing offense? I mean, at a much cheaper ADP. So I get the hype for Dalton Kincaid. I understand it. He's just not for me at that price.
Yeah, well, I think I'm all in on Dalton Kincaid because I just don't know who else. My whole thing is, and I think I'm going to die on this hill, is where is Josh Allen always going number 1 to everyone? Like, if you're saying this is to be true, Zach, then who is he throwing the ball to, and why is everybody drafting him number 1 in leagues?
Because he still rushes for 15 touchdowns. That's all it is in fantasy football.
So I think you have to look at the Bills' offense as a holistic unit. They are not the reason why the team struggled when they struggled last year. Dorsey took a lot of it in the neck personally when the offense wasn't really to blame for it all. And when you look at statistical analysis before and after the firing, nothing really changed all that much on that offense. They're still trending more toward a 12 personnel team, which makes sense when you have the tight ends that they have. But the thing with that is it's going to give you a heavier box. Like you're going to have 9 floating around the box every time now with a running quarterback and two down tight ends. So you're going to see a lot more man coverage on the outside. And I can't tell you which receiver is going to pop, but that wide receiver room right now isn't as bad as people think. Gabe Davis really was mediocre, quite frankly. He runs good go routes, and that's about it. Diggs was on his way out already, and I don't know if that's a talent thing. I don't know if that was a motivation thing, but he really fell off at the end of that year, which really inflates Kincaid's numbers. And when you got these mid-range guys that they brought in, Claypool, MVS, even Andy Isabella, somebody's going to pop there as the deep ball guy, and Josh Allen throws a really nice deep ball. When you're talking man coverage down the field like that, I can see one of these guys really picking up where Gabe Davis left off on those go routes and really coming into their own as a fantasy player this year. I don't know which guy it's going to be, but I'll probably take a flyer on one of them late in the round.
Keon Coleman?
It could be. It could be. I don't know that.
Curtis Samuel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of more in with like Shakir maybe over Coleman to start the year. You're going to see him as the number 1, so he might see a little more extra looks from a safety or something like that as well. It's going to be the opposite guy on that that other side, that X receiver who's going to be manned on. And I mean, Curtis Samuel's more of a gadget player. I don't see him being on the field and taking 50, 60 routes a game like that with the offense. It's going to be whoever wins that battle in training camp. So you're going to want to keep an eye on that between MVS and Chase Claypool and the other dudes they brought in.
Let's move on to our next slide. I think it was Jaden Daniels, which we talked about a little bit on him already. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Somebody that we have in a. Did someone say something? Yeah.
Well, I had one quick point. I think just
Sure.
with Kincaid,
Yeah.
I think it just shows like what Zach was saying that, if you could go reach for him a little bit, the tight end is going to be so fun this year with all the youth and how much potential we have the draft. So you have Laporta, Kincaid, McBride, and then you have Kelsey and Andrews and Evan Ingram. So there's so many you can get this year that Kincaid could be a reach, but if you really like him, he's going to do his thing. So sorry, I just wanted to add that I'm actually excited to draft tight end this year, and it's going to be fun. So
I love it.
First year I'm drafting Kyle Pitts.
I forgot him.
Free
too.
Kyle Pitts. Yes, free Kyle Pitts.
And Brock Bowers, rookie.
Brock Bowers, man.
Yeah. I don't know why I keep coming back to Derrick Henry. It's kind of like I keep picking the same people because I think it's because I'm confused on whether or not they're going to do good. Derrick Henry seems to be like the only person that in that backfield, right, is the running back. I don't think he's sharing with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But Lamar doesn't really like to pass off the ball a lot. So, but he still does. I don't know. What do you guys think on Derrick Henry? Upgrade from Tennessee or?
I think so. I think this is a better spot for him. He doesn't have to be the guy with Baltimore like he had to be in Tennessee. That offense isn't going to have to run through him. Lamar is going to get his carries. The wide receiver core is stronger, I think, arguably, especially when you add in Mark Andrews there. And Todd Monken's a hell of an offensive coordinator. He's going to find ways to use Henry, but not overuse Henry. And I think at this point of his career, that's what you're looking for is it's more maximizing his reps versus quantifying his reps as 25, 35 carries a game. He doesn't need that in Baltimore.
Let me ask you guys this quickly. The NFL changed some rules in the kickoff, and a lot of Derrick Henry might be a good person in that position, to run the ball in that way. And I also seen something that might play in the Scott Fish Bowl. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
So they did announce today that the return touchdowns are going to be worth 10 points this year. They upped that from 6, which is kind of cool. And Scott also announced that every 5 yards, I think it was, for returns are worth 1 point. So figuring out how these NFL teams are going to utilize returners, who's going to be returners, I think is going to be crucial for us as Scott Fish Bowl contestants this year. I don't know if we have that kind of information in June, unfortunately, with the changes of the rules. But it's going to be interesting to see how that works out in the NFL.
Yeah, I think our challenge, like you said, we're drafting in end of June, early July. Mid-July, none of us are going to know who's actually going to be returning the ball. So we can make some guesses. Like, maybe Derrick Henry could do it. I doubt it. I doubt they want to put him in that position to take those extra hits. But like Tyreek Hill, with that speed, he could get some extra looks. And maybe it's not even every return. Maybe it's every once in a while, but he could break one. So I think it's going to make it for interesting scoring. I think waiver wire will be way more interesting for Scott Fish Bowl when it comes to returning. I don't think it's going to impact too much of the draft, or at least if it impacts it, we have no idea what we're talking about. And I mean that in the nicest way possible of like, we're just taking our best guess. And if we hit, that's awesome. But it would not shock me if we start getting some camp news and some preseason news. And then we're all just flocking to that first waiver wire at the beginning of September for Scott Fish Bowl, trying to get one of those guys at the end of our bench.
Yeah. Awesome. My next slide is, I don't know. I cannot. That's all I have to say.
Can we just ban auto-tune? That's the real problem. It's auto-tune. Ever since auto-tune came out, all these terrible athletes and celebrities and people that have no musical talent whatsoever get on and they take lyrics that they probably didn't even write and they sing it. Like, can we just ban auto-tune forever? That's what we need to do.
Yeah, I think he announced that he's retiring too, right? I hope
he hasn't announced it yet. We all just assume.
Yeah.
This story has come up like 7 times this summer already of Darren Waller is announcing his retiring like soon. It's gonna happen,
look
guys.
at that. I
This
mean,
part in
come
the
on.
video might have showed that he's thirsty for more touchdowns. I don't know. He's thirsty for something. So
I mean, even if he doesn't retire, you're not drafting him.
Yeah.
So
no.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Darren Waller put out his own music video. It's on YouTube. Check it out. It's amazing. I mean, you won't watch it again after you check it out one time, but there you go. That you have it. I want to talk a little bit about crowded rooms. I mean, crowded rooms in running back rooms and wide receiver rooms. Look at that awesome thing. We got Tajay Spears there versus Tony Pollard. You like that? In this corner, in this corner. When it comes to crowded fields, does that change any of your drafting strategy? Do you like to stay away from those teams like that have more than one running back or wide receiver? I try to break it down there. Who wants to start?
I
Anyone?
can start.
I
I mean,
hate
it's impossible. Yeah.
Spears, so I can start. Tajay Spears is like the fight that I have with people every year, and this year it's going to be Jalen Warren, the fight that I'm having with everyone, and it's, you know, just because these guys see the field doesn't mean that they're good for fantasy. And, you know, Tony Pollard, they brought in to be the number 1 running back. Now, the only thing I will say is I have not done a deep dive in the new coaching staff that they've brought into Tennessee. But I will say if there is any correlation to their coaching staff, particularly, I know the new coach is like the one that's going to be calling plays. If he runs a lot of outside run zone scheme, you're going to want Tony Pollard more than you're going to want Tajay Spears. And it's not to say Spears won't have a role, but he's being completely overdrafted, the same as Jalen Warren. Like that, sometimes people in these situations bet on their horse, and I think Tajay Spears and Jalen Warren are just bad bets because it's going to end up being the boring answers of it's going to be Tony Pollard, it's going to be Najee Harris.
Yeah. Zach,
I mean,
which corner are you in? Spears?
To your first question though about like philosophy with running backs, I mean, at this point you really can't avoid single, like double backfields, triple backfields now in fantasy. There's very few workhorse running backs, so it doesn't bother me to draft somebody that shares the backfield. It's more about where do they get their touches. So are they more getting it in the red zone? Are they getting more targets? Those are just more valuable touches than just running between the 20s. Between Spears and Pollard, honestly, I'll take whoever falls the furthest. If they land in a spot I'm comfortable with, most likely that'll be Spears over Pollard, just based on current ADP. Neither of them are somebody I'm targeting, but I'm not like put off by either of them as long as they're at the right ADP for me.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'm right there. Same thing with Zach. I like last year benefiting with Jalen Warren for a few good games, and I saw him unfortunately break away a huge run against our Browns. I think it was at the end of the game, but it just shows the lightning in a bottle that some of these running backs can bring. So yeah, same thing. I would take the one that falls. I wouldn't reach for one or the other. Tony Pollard showed us what he can do with the Cowboys. I think he was injured last year to start the season, like a lot more than we were led on to know. So it would be cool to see what he has left. But Tajay Spears also, I saw quite a few big catches out of the backfield from him last year. So we'll see what happens with this Tennessee offense. But I think it will be exciting regardless.
Yeah. I'm going to move to the next one that we have in our wide receivers, and I think I have the Houston wide receivers, and I'm going to start with you, Chris. Now there's 3 guys here. Which one of these guys do you think has the best ADP?
That's a really tough question to answer right now because you just don't know how this offense is going to use these guys. Like Bobby Slowick there, he's a very talented coach. He's coached on both sides of the ball. His dad was an NFL coach. His brother's a coach. His other brother's a scout. Like he's a football dude. He understands all of this stuff. So I think this might end up turning into more of like a Sean Payton in New Orleans a few years ago thing where every different week there's one of these guys that's popping off and you just don't know which dude is going to be the guy that week. Dell, Collins, Diggs, they all have their own special skill sets. And I think At this point, maybe I'm more interested in Stefan Diggs simply because he's going below the other two guys and he still has the talent and the ability, and might see a lot more single coverage or safety over top type of coverages where he's got the ability to get some extra catches in there. I think honestly, if I'm talking about Houston, I'm more worried about whether or not CJ Stroud can continue what he did last year, even with all these weapons around him. Does that growth sustain? If that growth doesn't sustain, then I think all of these guys are kind of going to end up in that bust category where you're drafting them a little too high, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Jack, real quick, I know I don't have a slide for them, but I want to talk about another wide receiver room that's in Chicago. So we have 3 wide receivers there. Who do you think has the best ADP for that class or that room or that team?
It's not necessarily just the ADP, but it's just I'm betting on the guy that I think is going to match the ADP, right? So, it's not just the fact of Roma Dunes might be the one going the lowest, but I don't think he's going to outperform where he's actually being drafted. I do think DJ Moore is the one that you want in that room, because Keenan Allen is going to present, I think, as more of like a possession veteran wide receiver. I definitely see him potentially kind of like Adam Thielen. The way I saw Thielen last year is like the third down red zone guy where he becomes kind of that trusted aspect. So I do think there's a big role for Keenan Allen, and I like him, but I think DJ Moore presents as like kind of the alpha wide receiver in that room because Roma Jones is going to be in his rookie season, learning to acclimate himself to the NFL. I think he's going to take a cue from these 2 excellent veteran wide receivers on the field. So as much as I like Keenan, I like Rome in a dynasty format, the one guy that I have drafted the most out of that room has been consistently DJ Moore.
Well, I think I'm going to go and take Roma Dunze on that one. For some reason, I'm feeling like they're going to do the rookie thing together, and it's going to be that. It's going to be him. I have the last, you guys, we had a great, I always do this where I overplan, and the conversation was so awesome. Thank you guys for coming, but we're hitting towards an hour, and I am going on another podcast here. So I don't want to be late for that one. And, but before that, I asked you guys to think about who your guys are. And I want to go to the next slide real quick for my guys, for my awesome dudes, who you're high or low on. Hold on.
That's fire.
So that'll be your awesome dudes. Jack, just give me your awesome dude for the season.
Perfect. I'm going to smash right through them, and I'm going to give you 2 per position. So quarterback, it's Kyler Murray. It's Tua Tagovailoa. At running back, it's James Cook and the King, Derrick Henry. At wide receiver, this is 2 rookies that I love their low ADP, and I'm going to be drafting a lot of Roman Wilson of the Steelers and Javon Baker of the Patriots. And then for tight end, Trey McBride, love Trey McBride, but also David Njoku. I've called him the tier break tight end. He's the last real tight end one that you want to make sure you grab.
Yes. Going to David Njoku's softball, we'll talk about that. Cover that. Chris, who are your guys? Who are your awesome dudes for the season?
So I'm just going to give you one, and I'll pick a Cleveland guy for you since you're from Cleveland, and it's going to be Ford. He's a solid running back. He's lightning in a bottle. We don't really know where Nick Chubb is at with his rehab and all that. Even when he gets back on the field, I think you're going to see more of a timeshare here. And realistically, we all live in the Northeast. The weather here sucks in November and December. You're not going to be seeing them throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. Jerome Ford's the guy you want on your bench.
I love it. Jeff, who's your awesome dude?
I guess I'll throw 2 real quick out there. They're both wide receivers. One was pretty high last year. He fell a few rounds possibly this year, but I really like Jalen Waddle. I know he got hurt a lot last year and he was in and out. I had him in a lot of leagues, and he's in the game, then he's out of the game, then he's hurt with the rib injury, and Sleeper's telling me he's back in, and I'm like, whoa. So I really like Waddle. Also Jalen Polk. I think he could be a nice sleeper rookie wide receiver for New England. They're searching for their guy, and I saw Polk and Drake May hanging out a little bit, so maybe they're getting that chemistry together, and he could be a late round flyer that just in PPR format just catches, 6 to 7 passes and is good to go. So those are my 2.
Awesome. Love it. Zach, who
I'll give you one.
dudes?
Yeah, half of you will disagree with me because we already talked about him, but Anthony Richardson, I know you guys are put off, but I play to win, and you either win big or you're going to lose. It's okay. There's only one winner in your league. So he has the potential to be the QB1. Yes, he has to stay healthy. I get it, but he has the tools to be the QB1 in fantasy. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL, but in fantasy, he can do it. And yeah, I'm excited for him at that QB5, QB6 ADP range right now.
Awesome. I'm on board for all of those guys. All right, let's talk about on the opposite end. We have our awesome dudes, and then we have our ills. So we're going to talk about who our ills are. Like,
no, thank you.
Yeah. We'll go for the back. We'll start from you, Zach. Then let's talk with your ill.
Sure. Name an aging running back that isn't CMC. So, I mean, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon. I mean, I'm missing at least like 10 of them. Austin Eckler. I don't want to touch any of them. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of ill on Austin Eckler too.
I love him as a person. Love him for fantasy. Him in the fantasy industry. He's unfortunately done.
Okay.
I'll go real quick. I think for mine, just some reports I've heard. I know it can be a lot of smoke right now, but I don't know. Kenneth Walker, he throws me off, especially seeing how they're going to use that offense. I think Charbonnet is going to get a lot more work than we think, and that they're going to throw a lot in that offense with their new coordinator. So I don't know. Walker to me just seems a little sketchy. If you get him in like the 3rd or the 4th round, there's a lot of players I'd probably rather take in front of him. So I think that would be my fade right now for running back.
Chris?
Yeah, I'll stick with the running back theme here too. Zamir White, I'm not touching anything with that. And Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, I think it's a nice spot for him, but he concerns me a little bit. I don't see it going well for him there. Also Pittsburgh, like with Arthur Smith coming over, being the offensive coordinator there, and the way he likes to dual running backs, I don't think I'll be taking much of Jalen Warren or Najee Harris either. I don't know if you can trust either guy to be the guy.
I'm out on that. I'm definitely out on any of those. You got me. And Jack?
Well, Zach faded Derrick Henry, so I got to fade Anthony Richardson. But no, for real, the guy that I would actually say for real that scares me at ADP and just in general, and keeping the running back theme alive too, Rachaad White had 272 carries last year. Did you realize that? 272 carries and still didn't cross 1,000 rushing yards. He was incredibly inefficient. And if you take some away that passing work away and give it to Bucky Irving, he's gonna be one that really disappoints. He scares me so much this year. I have almost no Rachaad White on my teams.
Yeah. Well, those are all pretty good. I was trying to actually. I don't know if Zamir White. I don't know. I kind of think I like him a little bit, but that's okay. But you're really good on Najee Harris.
Well, look, you're probably not wrong. I mean, somebody's got to touch the ball, and somebody's got to score some points, and somebody's got to get the carries and the catches there in Vegas. And I don't see him being a full-time back. I think at some point he's got competition and probably gets replaced.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know you hate Najee, but I'm telling you, Arthur Smith, he runs the heaviest 2 tight end sets in the NFL. He is going to let Najee eat. I'm fading Jalen Warren because he's going to be like the little passy guy. He's like Bijan light that Arthur Smith's going to be like, no, thanks. Let me give it to Tyler Algier all game.
See, that's what I'm thinking too, is it's going to be like that where, you've got Najee Harris and he's got three carries of 8 yards in a row. And then all of a sudden he's off on the bench and they give Jalen Warren the rest of the series. Like, this is what he did with Bijan. This is kind of what he did with Derrick Henry when he was in Tennessee too. He seems like he's just not able to commit to any sort of offensive structure like that. I don't want any part of it.
I mean, he brought Jonnu Smith back to life.
True. I don't know. All I know is, isn't this exciting just to talk about it? Oh my God. And I'm drafting this month, you guys. with some of you guys. How fun is that going to be? And then we're going to talk about it on social media, and people are going to be like commenting that don't know what SFB 14 is. Like, oh my God, already? Yes, already. We will be drafting at the end of the month. I know we didn't get a chance to really dive much into it, but I'll be posting about it on social media. I want to thank all my guests. Zach, you can catch Fantasy and Frames every week. They're doing great work down there. I met a lot of the people, and I'm looking for. Are you going to the expo this year?
I won't be there, but Fantasy and Frames will be there.
Awesome. But you can buy his book on Amazon, and that is the Cocktail Playbook. Anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun, and it's great chopping up with you guys. And hey, if you guys want to come over to the Cincinnati draft, there's plenty of room to hang out and just have a good time over there the following weekend after you guys draft.
Yes, awesome. And that's open to public in Cincinnati and ours at the Barley House. Jeff, it was so nice to meet you. I cannot wait to kick your ass this year in fantasy in the Ricky Vaughn League. Oh my
Let's
God.
go.
I have the 101 in that. Don't know. I'm telling you.
I'm 107. Yeah, I'm 107. So we're not going to be at least sniping each other too bad. So it should be good.
This is true.
Yeah.
And then we have is there a third round reversal?
I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of sucky.
Yeah.
When you're 101, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to take the 101. You know, I never get the first pick ever. I'd rather draft at the end of I like an 8 or 9 with that nice little turn. I've always loved that. That's my sweet spot. I never want the pressure of that first pick but you know what? I wanted to take it this year. I just was like, you know what? It's mine. And it's not going to be Josh Allen. I can tell you that. So yes, Jeff will be meeting you and Chris. So excited to meet you as well. What number are you? I know you're not in.
I am 9, actually. Yeah, I chose 9 for the same reasons you're just talking about. I like to be near the end where the turn is. You kind of get a good idea where the board's going from there. And with the third round reversal like that, I get a little bit of a boost with that as well.
Yeah. So
one thing I will say with Scott Fishbowl is last year I had the 103, and I was like, oh, Josh Allen's bye week is the first week of playoffs, so I'm going to take Mahomes over him. So I don't know. I think I overthought it. So I kind of.
I mean, overthinking and fantasy football kind of go hand in hand.
I
mean, that's what the game is about, don't you think?
Him and Deshaun Watson were great quarterbacks for me. So.
And Jack, are you? I was going to say your podcast is a derogatory name about yourself. What's the name of your podcast?
It's the worst fantasy show. So I just like everyone out there is trying to be the best. Somebody had to be the worst. So I take that moniker. No, I do it facetiously. It's actually just like a kind of an inside joke with myself. But you mentioned the Fantasy Football Expo. I didn't get to go last year. This year, though, I'm booked at the DoubleTree. I'm booked at Draft Night Out. I might even be playing in the flag football tournament, but I'm going to the Fantasy Football Expo, and I am super excited to get to meet you and Zach and Jeff and Chris and all the other people that I've had on. So I've got 3 shows technically on the channel. It's all just under my name, though. So if you're going to look for it, just put @JackLewisnay. But it's worst fantasy show, worst wrestling podcast, and the worst interview show, which is the one that you've been on, Zach's been on. And maybe I'll have these other guys on at some point where I get to interview other people in the fantasy space. So I get to meet like 40 some odd people. It's been going about a year now at the Fantasy Football Expo that I've had the chance to interview. So I'm super excited to go. It's like a reunion, weirdly, even though I've never been before.
It really is. And that's, again, I'm only my sophomore year, so I can't act like I know everything in there, but it is so much fun. So if you guys haven't, came to the Fantasy Football Expo, it's awesome because it's in Canton, Ohio. So it's really convenient for me. And it's really awesome. That makes it so much, I don't have to worry about anything. Just, not trying to rub it in, just have to get in my car. And not that big deal. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something. And next week we have the Squad Pod coming back on. And you talk about wrestling. They're going to talk about wrestling. We have the NBA Finals. A lot of things, other things outside of football, I'm going to Dave and Joko's softball game this weekend. So excited for that. And I also will be teaming up with Youngstown Sports Cards, and we're going to be giving away like for collectors. So if anybody collects sports cards and things like that, I'm diving into that. That'll be fun. And I have Steelers Browns rivalry podcast in the works. This is something that I wanted to always do, just especially coming from Youngstown. It's really hard here, so I think that would be fun to explore. So that's if you didn't see your air storm, something like that. Anyways, wow, that was one breath. Thank you guys so much. Anything else that I have to get out?
I'll see you on the Steelers Browns rivalry podcast.
Yes. Oh, that's not on the right side though, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'll be on the bad side.
Yes. One more time. Let me just remind you guys we have the golf outing and we are donating to Fantasy Cares. So if you guys are fans of the Scott Fishbowl and everything like that, all the money that we're donating is for Fantasy Cares. This is our way. I did a league, a fantasy football league, and I was just thinking what ways can we do raise money, and Alana was like, let's do a golf outing. And so here we are. And it's been a lot of work. I mean, I haven't really been doing much of the work. I know she has, but so if you guys can donate, even if you don't want to come, can't make it, anything will help. And like I said, we're doing this all to give back. And I wanted to do this, especially coming from Cleveland Browns fans. This is going to be our gift. Like, Browns fans, we're awesome, because sometimes we get a bad rep, It's not, we can't help who's on our team. All right. Anyways, with that, thank you guys. Subscribe and see you next time. Keep it classy, Cleveland. Bye, guys.
See ya.